And I saw you race in 2004. We called it the Tour for a while. And a couple questions, one more fun, one more technical. If this wasn't your best stage, I mean, I watched on TV last year and was just thrilled. What was your best stage in the Tour?
Referring to last year?
No, you just remember your peak performance.
Look, I've only been monitoring the actual power. I think you're referring to the power numbers that they spoke about for the last 2 years, and I didn't do it every day in 2005, so it's hard for me to quantify what happened in the stages that I did before that. However, I think that in the stage actually happened in stage 17 in 2004. I'm equally as proud of that as I am of any other stage. I spent a lot of time working for Landis in that tour, and to be that strong at the end of the tour after having done that much work, was one of the biggest accomplishments in my career. We actually saw that.
And then this is maybe a question for the doctor. You know, in baseball in America, one of the when they talk about steroids, they look at performance records and the change in home runs and things like this. And Robbie, I thought what you said about the watts used was really compelling, because Katie would use that as data. I mean, if here we have these printouts or records of wattage, and there's really no difference on stage 17, or is that just versus any other stage? Is that just circumstantial, or?
Michael was alluding earlier to another dinner we're having tonight, where I'll show some other slides. But one of the things that I'll talk about, and one of the things I'll talk about now in response to your question, is Floyd averaged 281 watts on that stage. Now, I have records of 7 other rides where he averages over that, out of roughly 50 or so records that Alan sent to me. Floyd lives about an hour and a half north of me in Murrieta. I'm in San Diego. He rode down to my house a couple of years ago. Rode down, decided to go up Mount Palomar on the way, sort of a little bit of a detour, 3,500 feet or so. Came down, stopped for breaks, rode through traffic, came in, saw that I was busy with another rider I was coaching, so missed a few minutes and went back out, did some surges to about 800 watts. He averaged 242 watts that day on just a ride down to commute to my house. So all you're saying is, or all we were seeing on stage 17 is 15% more without traffic lights when it really counts. I don't think that's, that doesn't pass the smell test as being out of the ordinary for me. As we've heard, what was out of the ordinary was how it played out in terms of tactics, how it played out in terms of people who had lots of water bottles, how it played out in terms of being smart enough to realize that if you only got one chance and you only got one card, that's when you play.
Yeah, I'll just talk about Floyd's performance in the tour a little bit as well. We pretty much monitored every single day, even the rest days of the 2006 tour, and we looked at Floyd's average, what the average of the other cyclists in the race were, different things like that. And his biggest, I think, 5 and 10 minute power weren't even during the race. They were on one of his rest days, and the rest days you want to still go hard a couple of times. So Floyd had a lot in the tank, and on his rest day, I think he had his maximum 5 minute power, maximum 10 minute power, I believe, on the second rest day. So that was probably his most impressive day of the tour. You need to see it.
Well, we went through the present, through the past. What's in the future? Can you get on the team? I'm going to race this year if you get past that legal problem of yours.
Well, I don't have, at this point, any plans of racing on the road in 2007. I don't have any, first of all, I don't have the time to train the way I need to train now in order to race at the level I'd like to race. I have no desire to go back to the tour and suffer for 3 weeks. I do hope to go back the following year. This year will be clearly spent dealing with this.
Hi, my name is Steve Isaacson. It's one thing to discredit the testing, but it's another thing to change the general public perception. And I was wondering what you're doing to deal with that.
You got any ideas? No, you're right. It's very difficult having started in the position in which we were put from the beginning. But we're slowly making progress, and we're doing what we can to to speak to the people from the press who are still interested and interested in finding out what the truth is rather than just an exciting story.
I think that you see the embodiment of that effort in these trips to these town halls so that people can come here and ask questions like you're doing. And I think that it goes all the way back to October when we decided to put the lab packet online and let anyone who would like to look at it examine the evidence and take a crack at understanding why this is being done. So from back in October to now, you're seeing the cumulative effect of us being out in the public, trying to educate the public and give them information that will help them form an informed decision.
Floyd, you talked a little bit earlier about finding out who your friends were, who your real friends were when this whole thing happened. Have you heard from other, I guess I'm curious, have you heard from Tyler Hamilton, who was kind of, I mean, it's not the same situation, but I think he's getting a job too, or got a job too, but have you heard from him? Have you heard from Lance? Have you heard from other teammates? And what are they telling you?
I spoke to quite a few of my former teammates, and Lance and Tyler once or twice since this happened, all of whom said if there's anything they can do, they'd be glad to help. There's not a lot they can do, to be clear about that. But I think that some of them understand the risk they're in every time they race and every time they give a urine sample, after having seen what I've gone through. But a lot of them don't realize what it would be like to have to deal with it. So while I think the majority of the peloton supports what I'm doing and believes me, there's really nothing they can do, and it wouldn't serve any purpose for them to make a statement on it. From what they say, they support me. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Hi, my name's Eric, and this question is for Dr. Baker. I wanted to know what the half-life of, if you know the half-life of testosterone in the system, and has this been used in your defense for that stage?
Testosterone comes in many different forms, and sometimes people can receive it by injection. There are oral forms, there are forms that you put on the skin. And the half-life of testosterone itself is probably a matter of 6 or 8 hours, or a relatively short period of time. I don't know exactly. But most of the time it stays around longer because of the preparation that it comes with. There are shorter-acting preparations I understand. I mean, I'm not an expert and I don't really know much about them. What I know about is more from the longer-acting ones that I used to use when I was in practice for people who had testosterone deficiencies. As far as using it as a defense, I may have mentioned I consider it to be part of what I call the smell test. It just doesn't smell right to me that someone would use testosterone when there's no evidence that it's effective, and that it wouldn't be present before and it wouldn't be present after, but I don't consider that in any way a dispositive argument or relevant, in fact, to the science of the case, which is what I'm most interested in. So I'm interested in showing what the document package shows, what it doesn't show, what's been done in terms of the testing, what the procedure has been, not so much in speculating about whether it makes sense or not. Although there's a great role for faith in our society, I don't operate on faith-based evidence as far as when I look at document packages or medical records. So although that role is important to many of us who don't have another basis to look at this stuff, what I'm looking at is strictly the science, and I'll tell you that, at least that's what I'd like to look at. The problem is what I'm looking at here is science fiction. It's not science.
Hi, my name is Jim O'Donnell, and I have a related question for the doctor. You made a statement before, or one of you said, that Floyd was tested 8 times during the tour, and you're saying it doesn't pass the smell test, that 7 could be okay and 1 is not. I mean, that doesn't pass my smell test either. How could it possibly be that 7 are okay and 1 is wildly out of spec? You said it is possible but not probable. Could you explain to us in some terms that we could understand how it might even be possible?
Well, testosterone is relatively short-acting, so it's possible that you take a short-acting form, although those aren't common, and although from what I read in the press, I have no experience myself, there may be designer forms that are short acting. So conceivably, you could take the short acting.